Well, let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's always so fun when you speak into a computer and you're assuming that there's happy faces smiling back at you. So hope we're all happy this Tuesday afternoon. My name is Colette Grgic, and I'm the head of the startup ecosystem for AWS. And I wanted to take a couple of moments. I can see a few more people joining, but early bird gets the worm. I'm going to introduce you to a couple of people on the AWS team before we get started today. So first up, I'm going to give a little hello to Daniel Paranetto. If you can give us a wave.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dan. I am the business development manager here for Victoria, and I predominantly look after later stage companies. So I work very closely with VCs and accelerator programs to help these portfolio companies grow, leveraging everything that we have to offer at AWS. Ro, I'll pass it to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rohit. I work with Dan on the startup team as well. I cover all of Australia for what we call pre-VC, which is all early stage bootstrap companies, as well as our partners, which are accelerator and incubator programs, co-working spaces, universities, and try and find scalable ways that we can add value. Colette, I think you're back on mute.
I am on mute and the slider keeps disappearing. So these are the times, guys. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I hope you've had lots of good insights today already, and you've had a lot of takeaways and things that you've learned that will help you on your startup journey. It's phenomenal to still have workshops and to still have the ability to learn from each other and learn from our community over time this year. I'm going to spend today telling you a little bit about startups, not just about AWS, but a little bit more about startups. And I'm going to start with asking you one very big question, and that's why it is in big caps. Then I'm going to tell you one story. I'm also going to tell you about 3 ways in which I can help support your startup. I'm going to tell you about one bold move. So you've got to hang up for that one. And then I'm going to give away a couple of goodies. So I'm going to give you 3 goodies that you can take away that should help you on your journey. So first, let's start with the one big question. What does support look like for you? When you hear people say, we're here to support your startup, what are you actually thinking and what are you hoping for? So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds or so. You can just pop your answer in the chat, the Q&A chat box. So what does support look like for you and your startup? Great. You can keep submitting your questions your answers. I'm going to flip it around and make you give answers this time. So you can keep submitting them as we go along. So, all right. So story time. Every startup starts somewhere, right? And every big idea and bold moves start somewhere. And yours might have started in your garage or over a chat with some friends, or maybe when you spotted something at work that just wasn't working and that was broken and that nobody else was fixing, and you went, somebody should fix that. My startup story actually started in Guatemala. So this is a picture of Lake Atitlan, which is in the western side of Guatemala, which is in Central America. And this was because about 10 years ago, I was what my sister described as a nasty ass cracker backpacker. And I had sold everything that I owned, and together with my husband, we got on some bicycles and we started touring around the world. And at some part of that, we ended up in Central America, and we were cycling with a tent and a water bottle and a little gas cooker stove and some, matches and sleeping bags. And we were cycling through Central America, and we ended up at Lake Atitlan. And there was this deep sense for me that, you know, as we were traveling all over, and we had spent, you know, 18 months doing this now, that, you know, travel just wasn't working. You had the centralized model. Everybody would get on a bus, they'd go somewhere, they'd get off the bus, they'd go climb the mountain at sunrise, they'd come back down again, they'd drink some beer, they'd get on the bus and go to the next mountain, climb it. And we thought, surely, you know, as you were traveling with at this very slow pace that we were going, that there had to be a better way to do this, that we had to find a way to connect travelers and locals a little bit more authentically. And that's because that love of travel and that experience really stems from this belief of building an inclusive world where we understand each other and where we all have equal opportunities, whether you're inside the central system or outside, that we have equal opportunities to create and shape the future. And, you know, combined with this, you know, love for nature that I innately have, I think that it's critically important when we shape that future that it's innovative, that it's inclusive, that it's sustainable. And as a result of having this kind of moment and overwhelming sense that something's broken and, you know, we should start fixing it, it's quite by accident that I ended up discovering that technology could actually be part of that solution, that it could be the enabler that makes those opportunities become real for everybody, for myself and for people around me. And so as we got to the end of our journey, we got back to Australia, and we, you know, I was starting to think about what do we do next, and my husband started working on this idea, and I went, what are you doing? This is my idea. And he goes, well, you're not doing anything with it, are you? And I went, I will show you. Of course I will. So I actually started tinkering on this idea, having no idea, not a background in technology. I come from a business background, not really knowing what I was doing, how business models worked, where to even start, who to reach out to for help. We literally just went, I have this idea and I have this burning passion to make it happen. And that's all that we had. And so I started working in our living room, as you tend to do, actually in our bedroom. It was on the side of our bedroom. And I started working on this idea. And the one day my husband came into the room and he went, babe, I just read a blog and I think what we're doing is called a startup. And I went, oh, fantastic. What is this blog? And what is the startup thing that you're talking about? And I read the blog and it was very, very simple. It was 4 steps. And I went, oh, fantastic. I could do this. How hard could it be? So what is the startup and what does it do? Well, you have an idea, and that's me working in our bedroom on the left. I was already obviously working in my bedroom. So step 1, tick, I have my idea. I'm working from my garage. And I read this blog and it said, you know, the next thing that you absolutely have to have as a startup is a tech co-founder. So that day I joined LinkedIn, this was 10 years ago, found somebody who suitably looked like he could understand tech, turned out to be an absolutely amazing, talented technologist, and convinced him to join our startup. And to this day, I still don't know why he said yes, but he joined. So step 2, tick, got a co-founder. Step 3 was, well, you have to apply for an accelerator program, get some money, get some investment. And at the time, Pushstart and StartMate were the 2 prevailing, if not only, accelerators available in Sydney. So we applied, we got through to the final rounds, got rejected as we should have because we didn't know what we were doing. And then, you know, step 4 was you're going to raise some money and exit and go retire on an island somewhere. And I went, obviously I can do this. Ba-bow. It turns out not quite. So my 4 simple steps to retiring with a successful startup didn't quite work out. But what I did after we went through that journey, it was a tremendous journey, as I know a lot of you would be going through. You'd be learning so much. You're open to new ideas, you're open to new ways of working, you're open to new tools and business models, and you're willing to experiment. And that's really what we did. We tapped everybody who was smart that seemed like they knew what to do with this startup. And we just asked them for advice. And through that process, we really learned. And when it came time to shut it down, I was in a position to start a startup inside a corporate. And then I joined the BlueChilli accelerator, and I worked there as an entrepreneur in residence and helped to build 150 companies. And I'm telling you this story because what I've learned through my own journey and through walking that journey 150 times with other companies and founders is that there are 6 things that startups actually need help with. So, and you can bucket them into 2 broad categories. There's runway, and then there's resources. So on the runway side, you need customers because you need money, which can either be cash or credit, and you need capital if you're looking to do a hyper-growth move. But you can have all the money and all the resources in the world, and it's still not going to get you anywhere if you can't execute. And that's really where you need resources as well. So you need a team, you need talent around you to help make your idea come to life. You cannot do this completely by yourself. You need teachers, the mentors, the advisors, people who have walked the road, subject matter experts in particular area. You need people to actually help expand your knowledge, because you were not born knowing how to do everything, and that is okay. And then you also need technology. If you're thinking about how do you scale anything in a digital age, how do you build something? How do you make it effective? How do you build delightful customer experiences? How do you really get insights and understand how your customers are working and behaving in the digital world that they're interacting with? You really need technology as a foundational piece too. And so that's what I realized we need. And that's really what brought me to AWS, is when I thought about my own journey and the part that the team that I knew at the time at AWS played in supporting us and supporting the ecosystem, making it possible for me to connect to mentors, advising us and bringing together investors so that we could actually meet and pitch investors. I was really grateful for the part that AWS played in that. So when I had the opportunity to, go from doing one startup to 10 when I ran an accelerator to 150 when I was at a venture studio, and starting to think now about the scale of like the thousands of startups that I can actually help through working with AWS, this was something I couldn't say no to. And as much as I love AWS now, I also have come to appreciate just how much other startups also love AWS. And there's a couple of reasons why they do. And first up is the people. So I've introduced you to Ro and Dan, who are based in Melbourne, where I suppose a lot of you are today, and Dave, and the whole startup team at AWS. And there's about 20 of us here in Australia, and then we're connected to a much bigger global team all over the world, from Seattle, all over Asia, in the UK and Europe as well. And we're all people who come with backgrounds as being founders or being ecosystem builders. Many of us are investors in startups as well. And we often advise and mentor. So we have seen, if you're thinking about building a startup, we've probably seen similar models, or we can connect you to different ideas that will help you grow. But we're all here because we absolutely love and believe that startups are the future. And this is our way that we can have an outsized impact and help shape that. Then the second reason why startups love AWS is genuinely because of the product. We have around 175 different products within AWS. So, and it's basically, think about it like building blocks. It's whatever sort of a use case you're looking at, who your customer is, what problem you're trying to solve, how you think the solution might work. My bet is 100% that there is a building block there that you can actually use to give yourself an advantage to get to market faster and quicker with the right technology that will help you scale later on much faster. We're not going to go into the detail of all of this, but just suffice it to say that there's a lot of technical parts, and we're also looking at how do we even help non-technical founders now through things like low-code and no-code initiatives. Like we've got a project called Honeycomb, where we really try and make it as simple as possible to get started without actually having to know how to do any of the tech. And then the third reason why startups absolutely love working with us is because we have this prior experiences. My unofficial tagline is, unicorns build on AWS and they start on AWS. And that's true for especially unicorns in Australia. We've walked the journey from really, really early on with so many of the amazing companies that you would know. I have one fail for me today. I did not put Culture Amp on here, but that's a company that I believe many of you would also know. So we work with an amazing range of companies from really, really early, I have an idea, I'm just getting started. And then we've had the privilege of supporting all of these companies along their growth with the right products and the right go-to-market support and connections that we can make, and services that we can help them stitch together to actually grow. And then the last part is the programs. Everything from, like I said, from inception to IPO, our startup team has taken that knowledge of what does it take to build a startup, what are the 6 things startups actually need, and we've condensed that into a number of programs, which basically focus around getting started, so activating, and then supporting you as you build your company, and then looking to how do we help you accelerate through connections as you grow. So I'm going to tell you today about a couple of these and just give you a brief overview so that you know what's available to you and what you can leverage as you're going along. The first one I wanted to tell you about is Activate. And Activate is the program that I think AWS is most known for. It's not just a credits program. Yes, credits are a part of that, but it's so much more than that. So as the Activate program works like this. If you're a founder and you're just getting started, you are very welcome to sign up right now today for $1,000 worth of credits. It is going to help you get started. It's going to give you it's going to take away every excuse that you have to not get started. And once you sign up for that, you can then decide through the Activate portal, there's recommendations and suggestions based on what you're trying to build, what type of products that you might want to use to very quickly get up and running, so that we remove your speed. We increase your speed and remove any friction for you to just get started. We also have what we call scouts out in the ecosystem. So a lot of the people that you might be approaching for advice or mentorship or just generally advice as you get started, work with us and partner with us, because through them doing that, they're able to extend you an additional amount of credits if you've gone the extra mile and shown that you're actually really committed to getting this up and running. Secret surprise, you can reach out to us and ask us for suggestions on who you might want to tap on the shoulder as a scout. And then we specifically work very closely with many of most of, I would say, the accelerators, the incubators, the co-working spaces, training programs, and everybody out in the ecosystem who's trying to help you grow and get started and help you learn faster on your startup journey, where we partner with them, and through our partnership, they're able to extend usually about $10,000 to $25,000. So if you sign up at a co-working space, for example, do ask them if they're part of Activate, because this would be available to you. And I would recommend that you start there if you want to leverage the bigger portion of credits there. And then we do some things for our big companies, like the ones that are going through Rampersand or SquarePeg or Airtree or Blackbird or some of those much bigger VC groups. They're able to access a much larger amount of credits as they grow. But like I mentioned, credits is the baseline. People come for the credits, but that's not really why they stay. They stay because we actually make sure that you've got everything else, those other 5 things around you to help you grow. So through Activate, you also get training credits. So if you wanted to take any courses for cloud training or cloud computing, or how do you actually work with AWS, you can do that for free through Activate. You can also book some office hours with our solution architects. So if you can't do it yourself, you can ask somebody for help. And then if you do get to a stage where you're growing, our wonderful team, including Rohit and Dan, will be able to do things like help spotlight you in some of our marketing channels. So give you access to our entire AWS global network and audience. All right, so that's Activate. The second part, as you're going to build your business, so I touched on this a little bit, but business support. So as part of the Activate program, we want to make sure that you are set up properly and that you can use the best of the services for the use case that you're looking to do. So you can actually have access to advanced technical support. So that's 24/7 support that you can access through email or chat. So if you just have questions and you just need to get a question answered about how do I do X and you can't find the answer, you can reach out to us and we will help you. And then I also mentioned with cloud training. So this is also free for you guys on Activate to make sure that you have all the tools and knowledge that you need. So one of the things that we're very lucky in Australia at the moment to have is we've got this program called Discovery Days, which our training team runs, and they offer very broad, like foundation level getting started. And this, I would highly recommend this, whether or not you are the technologist or not. If you're the CEO in your company, or if you're the strategy, or if you're the operations person, you actually need to know how your product gets built and how it comes together, because that will help you make better business decisions, understanding how your business decisions also affect your technology. So I would highly, highly recommend that you leverage this. And I thought I put the email in here, but I can send this to you afterwards. You can literally sign up. There's 18 sessions until the end of the year. It's very, very valuable and good to do. And then the connections part. So the third part of the programs that we look are around building connections. Like I said, no person is an island, no entrepreneur. There is no myth of the lonely entrepreneur who's built everything by himself or herself. So we really focus on making sure that we connect you into our ecosystem. We have one of the largest ecosystems and networks of customers and startups and investors and programs in the world. And we want to make sure that we connect you into the right spots. So regardless of whether you're able to go out and meet people in person, we've now worked on a virtual mentor connections program. So with all of the workshops or conferences that are running right now, look out for whether AWS is a partner. And if we are, we will be able to match you with a couple of mentors so that you don't just have to sit and watch something. You can actually participate and meet people who you can learn from. The second part of the connections program is the customer connections. And that's where we match startups with big companies. So big companies have an enormous, the bigger the company, the more amount of problems and challenges that they have to solve. And it is, in the world that we live in today, absolutely impossible to solve everything yourself. So what we find more and more now is that our enterprise customers are coming to us and saying, I need a solution that does this. We have this problem and we can't fix it. This is a challenge in our growth. Do you know anybody? Can you recommend? And this is really where our team shines. And we're able to work backwards from that problem from the customer. And then we have a whole team that actually works to bring the right startups with us into the room with the right companies, and then work through the process of co-designing solutions. And we find that we accelerate those corporate deals much, much faster when we do it through a co-design process like this. So this is something that you can do with AWS that not a lot of people know about too. And then the third one is capital connections. So we're connected to all the VC funds, investor groups all over Australia and New Zealand, but not just here. Our global team have the same. So my counterpart, the Colette in the US, the Colette in Singapore, the Colette everywhere else in the world, we're all looking to connect you into our investor networks as you're scaling and you're looking for capital to help fuel that growth. Sound good so far? So when you think about what I said, 6 things that startups need, the way that we get to help them, I've really hope that I've given you a little bit of an idea of all the different ways that you can use us to help you on your growth journey. And then I'm getting to the part where I'm going to share a little bit more about the bold move, the surprising bold move. So this is a quote from Jeff Bezos, who is the founder of Amazon, which is the parent company of Amazon Web Services. And in his mind, invention comes in many forms and at many scales. And the most radical and transformative of inventions are often those that empower others to unleash their creativity, to pursue their dreams. And I'm putting this here because there is a big opportunity ahead for us. There's big challenges for us in Australia in terms of what we need when we're thinking about an inclusive and innovative and sustainable future. And one of the ways that we've taken a bold step at the broader Amazon company to make sure that we get there is through our Climate Pledge Fund. And I'm really hoping, I wish there was a way that I could see hands up or some sort of, waving and jumping up in the air in the background. But I really hope that there are many of you that are thinking about what does the future look like and what are some things that we can do to help make sure that we have that sustainable future. So the Climate Pledge Fund is a new fund that we've just announced, which is a $2 billion fund. It is a venture fund and it is investing for equity. And it is investing specifically in companies that will help accelerate Amazon's decarbonation and sustainability efforts. It's not just for Amazon itself. We're looking for technologies that we can adopt and employ to help reduce our emissions and our carbon footprint, but also companies that are going to help in a broader, in a broader sense, so that can help other companies also achieve their net zero emission targets. For us, we've set it at 2040. So we also have a goal to be, I think it's 80% by 2025. So we're really pushing on this front to make sure that we're bringing the best innovations and the best technologies to the forefront to help us achieve this. And it doesn't just have to be pure carbon-based. We're investing in food and agriculture. We're looking for opportunities in transport and logistics, as you might imagine. What you might not think about is energy. So one of the areas that we're really interested in investing in is energy generation, storage, and utilization. It takes a mass amount of energy to run this world, and anything that we can do to help accelerate a better outcome would be fantastic. Manufacturing, and then also in the circular economy. So I've put the link here. And again, I think I will just share all the links with you afterwards so that you can access them. But you can take a look at, find out a bit more information there. And now we're at the part where we're ready for goodies. And then after the goodies, I'm going to ask you 4 questions. So get ready. We're going to take questions just through the Q&A, and you can submit them at any time. And then Ro and Dan are going to help me get your questions so I can get them answered. So who's ready for goodies? Right. Okay. I said we will give you 3 goodies. So here are 3 goodies that you can take away that should help you as you're getting started. So the first is just making sure that you are connected to the ecosystem. I know it's a strange virtual world, but many of the communities that we work with, whether they're co-working spaces or whether they're programs, have actually adopted and adapted really, really quickly. And they've managed to put a lot of their programs and events online. And I really encourage you to stay connected with those communities. So startup programs and support. So I've put the link here for LaunchVic. So we'll share these links in the chat. The other one I wanted to share with you is just a little bit of a tip. If you're thinking, you find yourself with a bit of more free time these days, you might want to invest in really reading through a lot of the articles and blogs that we've compiled for you into this high output founders library. The team at Notion actually put this together, and it's a free resource, and it's categorized by whether you're thinking about, oh, I'm struggling with pricing. There's a lot of articles there that you can read about pricing. If you're thinking about how do I, onboard team members, there's a lot of advice there about team members, or how do I put together a cap table? There is an enormous amount of information available. I happen to find that this is very well organized and helpful. So I'm going to give you that one as a takeaway. And the other one is that if you walk away with nothing else, make sure that you sign up for $1,000 worth of credits. You can get it done today. And then with a caveat star, that if you are past the stage, if you're, you've already gotten started and you're already up and running and you're thinking about what's next, and if $1,000 won't really cover that, then please drop me a line and I can see what I can do for you to help you for the stage that you're at. All right, so question time. I am super keen to hear what you guys have to ask. Ro, Dan, are you guys taking questions?
Yes, sorry, I'm just going to jump on. We were just sharing some links as well. So
Thank you.
some of the links that Colette mentioned, we've just added into the chat window. And I think there's a few more that we'll just add in as well. Colette, a couple of questions that came through were around, there was one from, let me pull this up, so I'm looking at the right tab. There was one from Raja Ravi who wanted to know about the 5K scouting opportunity as they're already availing the 1K as of now. So do you want to talk a little bit about how startups can access credits beyond just the 1K credit tier?
Yeah, so thanks, Rob. So the 1K credit tier is available to every founder in Australia, New Zealand, all over the world. You can actually access that without any limitations. You just need to register and get started on that. For the 5K tier for the scouts, if you're at the stage where you need that extra funding, so if you're not just experimenting at the start and just getting started with some simple hosting, if there's something more that you need, you can reach out to us and we can connect you with the scouts. And I would almost go one step beyond. And if you are involved, because I really want to encourage people to stay connected to the community. So if you are connected with a co-working space or with a program, ask them if they're part of the Activate program and part of that network. And if they're not, just ping us, because we can help get them onboarded, and then you'd be able to access a higher tier. Does that make sense?
Another question that came through from Rachel Zhao was, where can we apply for this program and the criteria that's required? So often a question that we get around the Connections program and other programs that AWS runs.
Okay. So the Connections program, so my question back to you would be, if you're part of, if you're already on AWS, if you're part of the AWS network and you're a customer of AWS, this is something that you would work with your account manager. So there's different parts of our business, and once you're part of the startup group, then you get an account manager who can help you navigate that. So it's not something that you have to apply for. It's more that you can reach out to the either to ourselves, so any of us here, and we can give you an email at the end, and you can just ask if you're already on AWS. Then we can see how we can help connect you.
Perfect. Next question is from Minerva Jimenez, who wants to know, if I understand well, is it all about tech startups? The fund available that includes the food industry does need to be a tech food company.
Good question. It's not necessarily just tech related. However, oftentimes what we find is that tech offers a very big scalable solution. So when you're thinking about taking investment, and I'm not sure how many of the workshops you attended earlier, but if you are thinking about taking investment, one of the things that you will have to do is to, demonstrate what that investment turns into. So if I give you $100 here, then you're going to, produce $1,000 over here. And oftentimes that return gets a lot larger when you're working with tech or tech-enabled companies. So if you were a consulting company, let's say you were by yourself and you were a consultant, I think it would be difficult for the fund to invest, because it doesn't have that big component and it's only a single sole proprietor trading company. But if it was something that doesn't have to be tech, but it has to be scalable, I guess is the short answer to that.
Right. I'm just jumping between the chat and the Q&A tab because we've got questions coming through from both sides. So there was a question from Junbin Huang who wanted to know, can you share Colette's email address? Colette, I think you put it into the
next slide,
but I might just add it into the chat as well. Or actually, Dan, do you mind putting in Colette's email into the chat? The next question is around, in Melbourne, who would be good to talk about the Elemental Media package?
Dan, do you want to take that one?
Sorry, I saw that question, and I'm going to have to get back to you because, to be honest, it's a very specific program, and we would just have to check within the team who is the best person to talk to you. Do you know, Ro, anybody from that team?
I mean, the first point of contact would probably be, I would probably speak to a solution architect, would probably be the first point of contact, but then there's people specifically within the team who we could connect you onto on the Elemental Media package team. So we don't have that contact as yet, but that's definitely something we can sort of look through the weeds within the AWS tools to find the right contact for you. The next question, another one from Raja Ravi, who says, good to see the $2 billion fund. Our SWAN foresight vision and efforts are in co-creating the sustainable futures. Our first concept being worked out is creating a product for renewable energy operations. How to register for this fund?
So how do you register for this fund? I would say send me an email afterwards, because I'm collating, I'm just making a list of everybody who's doing interesting things in this space. So I would love to talk to you.
Perfect.
It's on the next slide, so you'll get my email on the next slide.
Yeah, Colette's email is also in the chat window. Thanks for posting, Dan.
Oh, but that was my bait.
Whoops, I'm sorry. The next question is around from 7S Auto, which I assume is a business name. Hi, I'm starting a new business using digital technology, half of the business. Could you tell me how I can start using your technology and who I can talk to here in Melbourne?
Oh, so I guess the short answer to that as well, it depends on what that half of the business that works with technology does. I mean, if it's a robot that's fixing cars, it would be a different type of technology than if it was a website that where you would be able to find, the right parts, for example. So what I suggest that you do, um, if you haven't signed up to Activate, I would say sign up to Activate and look at the console, because within the console it actually recommends particular products. So I would say get started there, and if that doesn't work, then my email's on the next slide.
Perfect. Speaking of which, Atiab just commented saying no baits necessary. So,
Oh, awesome.
So this is probably an account question from Runesh Prasad. I don't know if this is even a question, but he said that he signed into his AWS account and it says account suspended. So this is probably an account issue, and this could probably be a couple of different causes. So I might just drop in my email address and I'll set you up with one of our account managers who might be able to assist. So if you want to shoot me an email, I can help connect you on to the right person who can explore that. I think those are all. Any other questions? I don't see anything else so far.
While we wait for the questions to come in, maybe one or two extra questions. Do you want Colette to know where people wanted help and assistance in those 6 categories that you mentioned?
I absolutely want to know.
So I think 95% of the people fell into the teachers category, and mentorship and technical support, enthusiastic people to share their ideas and projects. Support means advice and help to overcome blockers, information and advice, mentorship. So there was probably 1 or 2 that put something in a different category. Everything else fell under the teachers category, which was very interesting just to collate that.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Thank you so much to everybody who submitted that back. That really helps us. The entire Amazon is guided by customers, right? So our mission is to be the world's Earth's most customer obsessed company, right? So everything that we do and that we shape, about 90% of everything that we build and everything we create is shaped directly from people that we are shaping it for, right? So I really appreciate that you took the time to put that in, because that's really going to help us to understand how do we help you better. So that's awesome. Thank you. Surprising too. I should have asked you before and talked less about the credits. Nobody cares about the credits.
There was a question that I answered privately, but I thought it might be good to discuss publicly for the benefit of everyone else as well. And the question was around, I think this person was based in Canada and wanted to know who the best person would be to contact. So for those companies that are looking to expand out into different areas, are based in other geographical areas as well, how can they utilize or leverage AWS? How can we help?
I always like to just reach out to us, because like I mentioned, there's a me, there's a Ro, there's a Dan. We're connected to a whole global team who are working across the whole world with startups. So whether it is about expanding into different, if you're looking at expanding into different regions, if it's, a digital product, obviously AWS makes a lot of sense. If it's a physical product, there's also things like the Amazon Launchpad, which you can look at. But I'd love to say, it's like, when you think about AWS, like think about us, like we're people, we're founders, reach out. We get our kicks from helping. So if that's something that we can connect you to one of our counterparts and they can connect you into the right industries or investors or, peer groups there, then that's something that we would happily do.
Another question, this one's from Liam, who said, thanks for the presentation. I'm at the stage where I'm ready to develop a FinTech MVP. In terms of engaging with AWS, is the next and best step to sign up for the Activate program and get into AWS from there?
Hundreds. You're a good student, Liam. Yes, that would be the best place to start. We do quite a bit of work with FinTech Australia as well. So I'll have a look out when you sign up. I'll have a look out and see if we can connect you with some of the workshops that we're running specifically for FinTechs. And we do have a specialist. So at the start, I mentioned Dave Ingle. He's our FinTech specialist. So he literally, all he does is FinTech all day and all night. So very happy to make sure that you get the right support that you need.
I have one from Raja Ravi here as well that I answered privately. that he was just mentioning that sessions on how to optimize costs during early stage prototyping and development. So Raj, one of the things that we do like to do is to, whenever we supply credits, we want to make sure that you guys extend those credits as far as and as wide as they can go. So we have a cost optimization workshop that has been posted a little while back that I'll share here in the chat to everyone. And this will be your first step to start optimizing your AWS account. So it's a good resource for everyone to have as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, strategically as well, like this is a question that we get asked often, especially if you do, if you're at the early stages and you are through a partner, you're able to access high levels of credit. We generally sort of recommend starting at the lowest tier because you definitely want to make sure that you're utilizing or accessing the credits when you actually need them. You know, we've just seen instances previously where startups have just accessed credits a lot higher than they need. And unfortunately, our credits program don't accumulate. They're just based on a tiering system. So if you have signed up to a high level of credit and you don't utilize it, it just becomes a little bit difficult for us to extend it. So if you have any questions on strategically how best to utilize the credits that are available or how you can access them, please feel free to reach out to Colette, Dan, and myself as well. Questions you have. Right.
Okay.
I think that's it. And I think that's right on time.
Man, I have to say, I'm very impressed. So I just wanted to take some time again to say thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. It's been a pleasure meeting you all. But I hope that you've learned lots, not just with us today, but throughout the day. And stay connected to the ecosystem. Make sure that you reach out, ask people for help. People are still here. We're just not as visible as we used to be. So thanks so much for taking the time this afternoon to join us. Thanks, Ro, for driving, and Dan for driving in the background. I really appreciate it. And just thanks again to LaunchVic for putting this together. It's awesome to see that you're continuing that support. Okay, have a happy Tuesday, everybody. Bye.